Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
And my pleasure now to welcome the Mayor of the Horowhenua, Bernie Wanden. Bernie, good morning to you. You've had a busy time recently.
I certainly have, John. But yes, look, it's hopefully coming towards a conclusion over the next couple of weeks where certainly by the end of June we'll be well into our planning and sorted out a lot of the decision-making that we need to do before we get into our new year.
So I know that you had a meeting yesterday. I know that you've got, I believe, a big one coming up on Wednesday. This must be an extraordinarily difficult plan to pull together.
Look, it definitely is. There are new challenges that we would never have thought about to even a couple of months ago in terms of what we're having to put this annual plan together. We're obviously delving into every line of our expenditure and costs and trying to see whether we can either, prioritise the spending that we do or even cut or defer where we can. Look, we know that we've got a number of options in front of us at the moment, and some of them will be very difficult decisions to make around probably some of the things that people have come to expect that the council will do. So next Wednesday is a pretty crucial time to actually decide some levels of service even, and some of the expectation around what we have to do. But, keeping in mind that we've got to get that balance right. We can't afford to stop spending completely. We need to make sure that our infrastructure and our essential services are maintained as well as they can be. It's interesting times, to say the least.
I don't often feel sorry for Auckland or Aucklanders, but I heard Phil Goff explaining that they've got a $500 million hole in their budget, and they've got some very, very difficult decisions to come. So I'm sure that the Horowhenua District Council doesn't have that kind of problem, but proportionately, does it relate? Do you get much of your income from fees and for, I was thinking about it, the Auckland situation, where obviously the port produces a lot of money for them, and it hasn't for the last couple of months. That is not the kind of issue that would apply to the Horowhenua, I assume.
No, we don't. Look, 70% of our income is rates. The rest is fees and charges and a bit of a few subsidies and things like that. The reality is that rates, though, do form the major part of our income. So we do have to be extremely careful. And in terms of scale, we are anticipating a drop in revenue, especially probably around, consent fees. Probably we won't receive as much through our community centres and our aquatic centres because, numbers may well be down. So we're planning for a reduction in activity in that space. But fortunately for us, it's not a massive reduction. And that's why we're looking at a whole range of different decisions around spending. And we are delving into areas that I don't think the council or the officers have had to do in the past years.
Sure.
It's almost like we're setting the new norm now. We're going to have to continue this, I would think, for another couple of years. The challenge is more about, it's okay to make these decisions now, but it's the impact that they have in 2 or 3 years' time. The last thing I want is to have, a really low rates increase this year, but then have to increase it twice or 3 times next year. I don't think that's going to be, that's very prudent or responsible at all on council. So trying to find that balance, is where we're sitting at the moment. And look, we've put an extraordinary amount of work over the last month, both officers and elected members, to try and find that balance.
You certainly have got an issue at hand with that high reliance on rates, and obviously many of your people could well be heading into difficult financial circumstances over the next year or so. You've signalled a possible reduction in activities. Does that relate to a reduction in employment as well?
No, look, we're certainly not increasing levels of employment, but we're hopeful that we can maintain and retain the staff that we have. The challenges for us are the technical type of staff. I mean, we're only a medium-sized council in a relatively small town, so to try and get engineers, planners, consenters, building inspectors and things like that is a challenge for us at the best of times anyway. So to try and keep that sort of level of, support that we have within the community can be a challenge. Look, we are making some cuts in that area, definitely, but I think it'll be, normal attrition rather than, having to make people redundant. But that's the CE's job. He's got a challenge in that space as well, of course. Look, I think people in the after next week will understand that we've, made every effort to find those savings and to make efficiencies where we can. But realising that we still have to keep going, we still have to keep investing and making sure that we are setting, a good platform for the future.
Well, I'm certainly aware you're doing a power of work at the moment. Thank you very much for spending some time with us here on Beach FM. It's very much appreciated. And thank you, Bernie Wanden, Mayor of the Horowhenua.
Thanks, John.
106.3 Beach FM.